In 1969, the government closed Project Blue Book. This was supposed to be the end of the United States' involvement with UFOs and their study of them. Since then, they denied any involvement with UFOs and actively encouraged the ridicule of the subject. However, secretly, they continued programs that tracked and investigated the phenomenon, and perhaps had even deeper investigations, including the collection of physical materials. In order to hide the truth, one must also hide the very nature and even the name of the truth. The popular acronym UFO was deliberately changed to UAP, a more innocuous title for the subject, something no one would think to search for in government documents related to the topic. To hide the truth, they hid the very name of the phenomenon. However, in 2016, whistleblowers revealed a secret program the Pentagon was conducting on UFOs and UAPs, with 3 fascinating videos shot from U.S. fighter planes and radar technicians. The word was out, and the government was forced to concede they did still have a program. Since then, there have been more revelations and even congressional meetings on the subject, with even more to come. Is the government about to release startling evidence we are not alone? Or is this just another way to hide the truth? In December 2016, the tightly shut doors to the secrecy began to pry open with the discovery of a program called ATIP. The Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program was an unclassified but unpublished investigation effort funded by the United States government to study unidentified flying objects or explain aerial phenomenon. The program began in 2007 with funding of $22 million over 5 years until the available appropriations were ended in 2012. The program began in the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency. According to the Department of Defense, ATIP ended in 2012 after 5 years. However, reporting suggested that U.S. government programs to investigate UFOs did continue. This was confirmed in June 2020 with the acknowledgement of a similar military program, the Unclassified but Previously Unreported Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force. Initiated by then Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid of Nevada, the Advanced Aerospace Weapon Systems Application Program to study unexplained aerial phenomenon at the urging of Reid's friends, Nevada billionaire and governmental contractor Robert Bigelow. The program began in the DIA in 2007 and was budgeted $22 million over its 5 years of operation. The United States Air Force facility known as Area 51 is located in Reid's home state of Nevada. After the revived interest in the 1970s surrounding the 1947 Roswell UFO incident, Area 51 was rumored by ufologists and conspiracy theorists to be the U.S. government's storage location for the crashed alien craft for study. Reid explained the reasoning behind his sponsorship of the program by saying, "I'm interested in science and in helping the American public understand what the hell is going on," and stated that hundreds and hundreds of papers have been available since the program was completed, and that most all of it, 80% at least, is public, adding, I wanted it public. It was made public, and you guys have not even looked at it. It's difficult to look at something that was unpublished. Therefore, even though the program was unclassified, there was no way anyone could know it existed, much less report on it. The government rebranded the term and was able to hide unclassified information in plain sight. A 2009 letter by Reid was published by KLAS-TV investigative journalists George Knapp and Matt Adams, where the senator states that ATIP has made much progress with the identification of several highly sensitive, unconventional aerospace-related findings that will likely lead to technology advancements, and recommends the creation of a special access program for specific parts of ATIP. What were these unconventional findings? To date, the government has not been forthcoming with its findings, though rumors suggest they have metamaterials, an innocuous term for something physical, some kind of materials that may very well be alien. ATIP, through a contract awarded to Bigelow Aerospace Advanced Space Studies, has generated a 494-page report that documents alleged worldwide UFO sightings over several decades. This 10-month report has not been released to the public, but focuses on reports, plans, and extensive analysis of unexplained aerial phenomena. According to one former contractor, the report was only a sample of the materials provided to the Defense Intelligence Agency, as monthly reports were being sent to the Pentagon, in addition to annual program updates that were all about UAP, or anomalous phenomenon. The program also funded and published 38 studies. Those studies cover a range of advanced, exotic, and theoretical aerospace topics, ranging from detection and high-resolution tracking of vehicles at hyperspace velocities to warp drive, dark energy, and the manipulation of extra dimensions. It may be difficult to believe that our military was seriously looking into warp drive and extra dimensions, but there it was. In 2020, the Pentagon acknowledged the existence of another program similar to ATIP called the Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force. The unclassified but previously unacknowledged program was made public during a June 2020 hearing of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. The program has been giving classified briefings to congressional committees and aerospace executives for over a decade.
You going to mug me?
Am I going to mug you?
Is that gorgeous or what, eh?
And I believe I can run a decent marathon.
Thank you very much.
Download Veely now.
Former Senator Reid stated in reference to the successor program, "It is extremely important that information about the discovery of physical materials or retrieved craft come out." Retrieved craft? This would suggest that the Pentagon has in its possession UAP craft or materials related to them. As you can imagine, this was a bombshell dropped on the American public and those in ufology. For decades, it has been whispered that the government has several crashed UFOs. However, though we have testimony from many military and civilians, this is true, we never had any confirmation of it. Indeed, to this day, actual verifiable confirmation is still forthcoming, but it should also be reported that the Pentagon and the government have not denied it either. Of course, the Navy and the Pentagon are very interested primarily in any threat these UAPs may pose. The Navy, Air Force, Marines, and any military organization that conducts military operations in the air would have serious concerns. The materials studied by ATIP have been the subject of classified congressional hearings aimed at understanding and identifying the potential threat to the safety and security of aviators. The Navy has confirmed that in response to inquiries by members of Congress, they have provided a series of briefings by senior naval intelligence officials, as well as testimony from aviators who reported hazards to aviation safety. The contents of these briefings were classified, but Senator Mark Warner, the vice chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, who participated in one of those briefings, released a statement requesting further research into unexplained interference in the air that could pose safety concerns for naval pilots. According to Popular Mechanics, Senate Intelligence Committee Brigadier General Richard Stapp, director of the DoD Special Access Program Central Office, testified the mysterious objects being encountered by the military were not related to secret U.S. technology. So far, the Pentagon has been focused on whether UAPs or UFOs could be the result of some foreign technology from another nation. If so, it could mean air superiority by that nation, and that would put us and any allied nations at serious risk. It's logical to assume if another nation did develop such technology, then this technology would have appeared in any conflict to date. No nation develops superior technology and doesn't use it. It would be used in any military theater that nation needs to gain an advantage. As far as we know, no new air technology has ever been used that wasn't conventional. UAPs and UFOs are not conventional. They display advanced propulsion systems, have no wings, no rudders, and seemingly fly with no visible means of lift. They can travel faster than sound without producing a sonic boom, make right-angle turns abruptly, and even travel underwater as well as into space. According to our current understanding of avionics, they shouldn't fly at all. Their ability to travel underwater has also generated another acronym, USOs, or Underwater Submerged Object. These objects are frequently encountered by the Navy. Our current aviation technology cannot duplicate these capabilities. Any nation that does develop these capabilities would gain air, sea, and space superiority immediately. Our technology could not match theirs. They would have the ability to rule the world. When the United States developed the atomic bomb, we used it, twice in Japan. It put an end to World War II because no other nation on the planet had this technology. It gave the USA a strategic and powerful advantage. We maintained that advantage until the Soviet Union was able to duplicate the technology, and that led to decades of Cold War, whereby both sides were poised to destroy the other. Any nation that learns to duplicate the advanced capabilities of the UAP or UFO will have a similar advantage that could lead to world domination. On July 23, 2020, the New York Times reported that while former Senator Harry Reid believed that crashes of objects of unknown origin may have occurred and that retrieved materials should be studied, he did not say that crashes had occurred and that retrieved materials had been studied secretly for decades. News reports also repeated a claim that an off-world vehicle might be in the possession of the U.S. government. Since the Roswell crash of 1947, there have been rumors and stories of crashed UFOs and their occupants. Numerous crash sites have been cited as locations and incidents involving the government and saucers in their possession. In the late 1980s, Bob Lazar claimed to have worked as a physicist at a location called S4, which is a part of the infamous Area 51 in Nevada. Lazar purports to have examined an alien craft and read U.S. government briefing documents that described alien involvement in human affairs over the past 10,000 years. His claims brought additional public attention to Area 51 and fueled conspiracy theories surrounding its classified activities. His assertions have been analyzed and rejected by skeptics and some ufologists, although he retains a following of supporters. Lazar has claimed that the propulsion of the UAP ran on an antimatter reactor and was fueled by the chemical element with atomic number 115, which at the time had not yet been artificially created. It was first synthesized in 2003. He said that the propulsion system relied on a stable isotope of E115, which allegedly generates a gravity wave that allowed the craft to fly and to evade visual detection by bending light around it. Was Bob Lazar telling the truth? Was he part of a misinformation campaign? Or does the government actually have crashed UAPs in its possession? It would not be unusual for the government to lie about advanced technology. When the first atomic bomb was exploded, the public was told a dynamite storage facility exploded. The CIA often floated UFO stories to hide their stealth and spy plane advancements. In fact, most all of the United States black budget is spent on programs that is covered in lies to hide them. So the question on ufologists' minds today is whether all this new information is just another campaign to hide more secrets from the public. Or are they really interested in UAPs and are diligently trying to figure out if some UAP UFO sightings are actually alien spacecraft? The U.S. military is primarily interested in threats to our national sovereignty. Therefore, it makes sense they would be very interested in UAPs and probably have always been. Any craft that can enter our airspace, fly with impunity, and exit would be a grave threat. Current science tells us there probably is life on other planets, but it is unlikely anyone is visiting our planet due to the distances they would have to travel to get here. This is, of course, based on our current science and our inability to go there. So the government seems to be more concerned that another nation on Earth is flying these craft and using them to spy on us. Their approach is this is an earthly national security issue and isn't about aliens at all. Their conclusions are based on this theory. However, when you look at the UAP problem, it appears no nation on Earth is sufficiently advanced to invent and operate craft with the capabilities of the UAP or UFO. There are only a handful of nations that might even come close. America would be at the top of that list, with China, the UK, and Russia secondary. North Korea would also make the list, along with Iran. However, the further you go down that list, the likelihood of any nation advancing far enough to duplicate the flight capabilities of the UAP gets much weaker. The USA is still looking at the possibility that this is a phenomenon, some unusual atmospheric anomalies that occur naturally, like ball lightning or lightning sprites. Hence the new name change from UFO or unidentified flying object to UAP, an unidentified aerial phenomenon. It's as if they desperately need to pigeonhole this issue into some kind of natural atmospheric or weather-related science. That would be the easy answer. Then they can dismiss it and move on. The problem is these do appear to be objects and not some weather event. They are tracked consistently by radar, and when sighted by military pilots, they appear to be solid objects. Their maneuverability is astounding to those pilots who are keenly aware of how aviation works. Some pilots have reported they reacted to their presence, sometimes playing with the pilot's aircraft, maneuvering around them, and even wanting to be chased. This suggests an intelligently controlled craft. So, the logical question is, who is controlling them? Our most famous fictional sleuth, Sherlock Holmes, once said, "When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth." That quote from author Sir Arthur Conan Doyle is as true today as it was when written. It's the process of elimination. It is how we determine what something is, by eliminating what it is not. It's logical to conclude if the USA and no foreign nation, no corporation or individuals invented and manufactures these craft, then someone else has and is controlling them. Using the process of elimination, there is only one conclusion. The Earth is being visited by some extraterrestrial peoples. One would think the Pentagon, with all of its analysts, strategists, and powerful leaders, would come to this same logical conclusion, but they seem to want to avoid this perspective. The government is clinging to the notion that these craft can be explained by foreign adversaries using them to spy on America. Recently, a Chinese balloon was shot down that was spying on us, but a balloon is very conventional and does not exhibit any of the flight characteristics of a UAP. It should also be noted that during the Chinese balloon fiasco, there were also reported to have shot down 3 other objects, none of which were reported as balloons. Those object shoot-downs remain classified. It could be that the government is hesitant to admit there is a superior aeronautic technology operating with impunity in our airspace, and there is nothing we can do about it. No government wants to admit to their public such a threat exists. Also, no government wants to admit they have been one-upped by a foreign nation. The idea that a superior alien force is operating within our airspace and our military theaters would be a greater threat to our government, especially if we know little or nothing about them, their motivations, or how advanced they actually are. Are they communist or democratic? Are they expanding their territory or simply observing? This notion puts enormous pressure on any government to find the answer to these questions so they can be assured there is no threat, or the threat is more than suspected. The conclusions of the UAP may be obvious to us, but any military would need to eliminate any doubt before making such conclusions public. This appears to be what the U.S. government is doing, though they likely could have reached a conclusion long ago with all the available data on the subject. In short, they're being very cautious. Concerns for how the public would react if the government did conclude that UAPs and UFOs are indeed alien craft would be world-changing. It would not only affect America, but each and every nation on Earth. This would be a paradigm shift in our view of ourselves and our place in the universe. However, the most relevant concern for any military would be if the public would panic if told that UAPs represent a superior alien race visiting Earth. The military may need to call for martial law and preserve the peace. Going into any military situation without knowing who the enemy is would be devastating. So the Pentagon is trying to size up this new phenomenon and make determinations about their abilities. Simply having alien craft fly through our airspace is alarming, but not particularly a threat. If aliens are checking us out, then that alone may be a nuisance, but benign. Or they could be doing exactly what we are doing, assessing our military capabilities. Our question would be, for what reason? Do they plan to attack? Or are they simply assessing our technology? Since UFOs are nothing new and they have been around, if not through antiquity, then certainly during the modern age, one would assume they know all of our capabilities. They have had plenty of time to observe us. ATIP is a threat assessment group. In fact, all of these new programs are designed to observe, catalog, and determine any threat the UAP may be. It would be careless of the Pentagon to simply dismiss the subject and ignore it. With military pilots reporting UAP encounters more frequently, this has now become a hot topic at the Pentagon and something they want solved, no matter if the public learns of it or not. The days of cataloging this phenomenon in secret is over. The military can no longer hide and seek. In order to accumulate data, they must open the subject up so pilots, both military and civilian, can report their encounters and that data can be analyzed. Military pilots now have orders to pursue UAPs and try to gather as much data on them as they can, including gun camera footage, radar data, and observations. Where this may have been done in the past by scrambling pilots to go look for a radar return, now they are free to engage them more openly with non-hostile intent. Due to this new openness, pilots and military personnel no longer are restricted as much and are not subjected to the ridicule of the past. Among the information that has been released by ATIP are several short videos of military jets encountering something they couldn't identify. The Navy confirmed the authenticity of the videos, stating only that they depict what they consider to be unidentified aerial phenomenon. Susan Gao, a Pentagon spokeswoman, confirmed that the 3 videos were made by naval aviators and that they are part of a larger issue of an increased number of training range incursions by unidentified aerial phenomenon in recent years. On April 19, 2023, the Pentagon released another video featuring MQ-9 drone footage from the Middle East depicting an unidentified aerial phenomenon. Sean M. Kirkpatrick, director of the Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, briefed a Senate Armed Services Subcommittee that it resembled a small metallic orb. However, Kirkpatrick said they are unable to fully identify anything from the video. The video depicts what appears to be a metallic orb or circular object that passes in front of the drone's camera. The camera operator attempts to follow the object before it moves out of frame and out of the drone's camera range. This is the video in question. It is brief but telling.
You'll see it come through the top of the screen. There it goes, and then the camera will slew to follow it. You'll see it pop in and out of the field of view there. This is essentially all of the data we have associated with this event from some years ago. It is going to be virtually impossible to fully identify that just based off of that video. Now, what we can do and what we are doing is keeping that as part of that group of 52% to see what are the similarities, what are the trends across all of these, do we see these in a particular distribution, do they all behave the same or not? As we get more data, we will be able to go back and look at these in a fuller context.
Note the object has no wings or visible propulsion system. There are no propellers, jet exhaust, or any engine components. It appears to fly in a forward motion with no conventional avionics. It is not a balloon. The Pentagon simply labeled it as unknown since there is no more data to rely on to identify it. Of course, this does not mean it is an alien spacecraft. We simply do not know what it is or how it is able to maintain flight. However, it is real, physical, and was recorded via camera and radar. The term UFO is often related to flying saucers, terminology from the 1950s regarding UAPs. However, most UFO or UAP reports do not describe saucer-style objects. Most are indeed oval, round, or sphere-shaped. Some are triangular, and even cube or rectangle shapes are reported. When analyzing the data, it would appear the shape of an object is not directly related to its ability to fly. Our aircraft must fall within a specific style in order to fly, such as a fuselage, wings, and either jets in the back or sides on the wings, or a rear or forward propeller. The shape of the aircraft is a necessary component if the craft will fly at all. This is necessary to take advantage of the air movement over the wings to create lift, and the fuselage is elongated to pass through the air with less friction. Though a blimp uses gas for lift, it still must have a conventional propulsion system to move through the air, such as fans or propellers. The shape of a UAP does not appear to be relevant to its capability to fly. Ovals, saucers, rectangles, triangles, and a host of other odd shapes have been reported. The assumption is they use some kind of anti-gravity for lift. If you can defy gravity, then any shape would fly. With anti-gravity, you can make a brick fly, as it is not dependent on avionics to gain altitude and maneuver, nor its mass or weight would be a factor. To date, we have no way to generate anti-gravity or defy gravity at all. We don't have the technology or wisdom to build and maintain a craft that exhibits the characteristics of the UAP. The military and the Pentagon are not only interested in UAPs because they may be a foreign nation using them to spy on our nation. The very nature of the UAP would lend itself to a perfect weapons platform. Imagine being able to move beyond the speed of sound with no sonic boom, deliver bombs or missiles to the enemy, outmaneuver their aircraft and jets, and exit the military theater unabated. If necessary, you could dive into the ocean and exit at another location far away from the enemy action, or fly into space and take out their satellites with ease. Whoever is first to duplicate the abilities of the UAP would be able to rule the world unhindered. Having one single UAP would change how the military responds to threats. Having a fleet of them would make any nation's arsenal of conventional weapons almost useless. A UAP could simply evade an oncoming missile and outrun or evade any fighter jet. As a weapons platform, it could remove any jet, missile, or bomb from the wartime theater with ease. By the time the enemy knew the UAP was on target, it would already be over. This is just the kind of power all nations want. All militaries want to be king of the hill, able to defend their territory while denying the enemy a foothold. So the UAP represents the ultimate weapon. It can fly in any conditions, air, space, and under the ocean. It can evade conventional weapons and deliver bombs to any part of the world quickly. Any nation who can decipher how the UAPs work will have a major advantage over all other nations. In that regard, we have entered another type of space race. Each nation with programs studying, understanding, and trying to duplicate the abilities of the UAP. The one that gets there first wins. So it is imperative to our Pentagon and national defense that we, America, get there first. Understanding the UAP includes understanding where they come from. If it can be determined that no nation on Earth is manufacturing them, then the logical conclusion must be that they are from somewhere else. That brings us to the idea of aliens. Even if UAPs are unmanned, someone had to create and manufacture them, and someone is controlling them either directly or remotely. Of course, it's possible that they themselves are autonomous. They could be a type of artificial intelligence or beings in their own right. UAPs might be a form of AI, able to think for themselves and make decisions. In this case, they may be exploring our Earth and mean us no harm, or they may be gathering intelligence on us to deliver to some alien race out there. They could simply be gaining knowledge of our planet for some alien race to catalog for further study. In this instance, the UAP may be a type of probe sent out to gather information on worlds too far for their masters to travel to, then radio or deliver that information back to their home world, much like we send unmanned probes into our solar system and beyond to radio back information about the planets, gases, and moons in near orbit to Earth. The UAPs may have no one on board, or a sophisticated AI that is piloting them. The other possibility would be that they are not machines at all, but some kind of creature, alive like us, but physically different. They may have some natural ability to fly that we do not understand. Their reasons for visiting Earth would be their own, and we may not understand its thinking. If this is possible, then they may have no hostile intent toward us at all, but simply come to play in our atmosphere. It may very well be possible that the UAPs are not piloted by aliens, but are the aliens themselves. They may have some kind of bioluminescence that allows them to glow at night. Thus, we see strange formations and lights that appear to defy normal flight characteristics. In the day, they appear as orbs, balls, tubes, and other shapes. Or they could be a multitude of different aliens that sometimes visits our world, some manned, some unmanned, or natural living beings. We simply do not know for sure. If aliens are controlling UAPs from within them or remotely, then they must be more technologically advanced than us. After all, they created the UAP itself. This seems logical, however, it depends on what materials are available to them. If their technology is based on some naturally occurring substance or mineral widely available on their planet but does not exist here on Earth, then they may simply have that advantage, but are equal to us in intelligence. They have something we do not that allows them to use technology in a new and different way. They're not necessarily smarter, but they have an advantage we do not have. If this is the case, then we may never be able to build UAPs of our own. We simply do not have the necessary components to make it fly. Bob Lazar said a stable element of 115 was necessary to fly the UFOs he examined at S4. However, when we discovered how to create the element, it was unstable and disintegrated after only a few seconds. Element 115 isn't a naturally occurring element on Earth. If it naturally occurs elsewhere, we're out of luck, unless we can go there and get some. Whether you believe Mr. Lazar or not, this demonstrates how a vital component necessary for UAP production and operation may simply be out of our reach. We can't build one if we don't have the necessary materials. You can't bake a cake if you don't have the ingredients. If you follow the phenomenon of alien abductions, those who claim to have been abducted often refer to the little gray aliens as biological robots. They are genetically created by their alien masters to perform tasks such as abducting people. The aliens use genetics like we use metals and materials to build our type of robots. If the aliens have this ability, then it's possible that they may create their own ships using the same methods. Their ships may be living creatures with natural abilities to fly. UAPs and UFOs are not machines, but living creatures, just like the alien grays. If they have the necessary genetic materials to make gray aliens, they may be extending that to all production, including their spacecraft. They may have access to all the genetic materials from their own world or from other worlds that they visit. If this is true, then the aliens may grow their craft rather than build them. As humans, we have an aversion to playing God. We do not create new species because we believe that is immoral or unethical. If the aliens have no such constraints to genetically creating living beings, they could be far ahead in their biological technologies. They may have found a species on their world or beyond that can fly using some kind of bioelectric field or other methods, and they genetically create their vessels with that ability. They use genetic materials like we use metals, wood, and ceramics, and other materials to construct our craft. If this is the case, then we would consider it unethical to make UAPs, even if we had the necessary genetic materials. By changing the acronym from UFO to UAP, the government was able to hide much of their studies in plain sight. While researchers were filing Freedom of Information requests for UFOs, the common name for the phenomenon, the government was able to secretly generate reports for various departments with no one knowing about it. No one knew to look for UAP reports. The clandestine methods of the government is revealed here by a simple name change. Without the whistleblowers, we may never have known about ATIP or any of the other programs that have now surfaced. Once revealed, there is a plethora of information available. UAP videos have leaked. Radar data and documents that would have languished in secret is now available. However, for every document and footage now public, there is still a mountain of additional data still locked up. Many in government are now trying to pry open this new and important data. In addition, UFO researchers can now file Freedom of Information requests for more documents now that they know what to look for. Some are beginning to seek full disclosure of all data pertaining to UAPs. They want to free pilots from their secrecy pledge so they can give eyewitness testimony. They want additional gun camera footage of UAPs and any materials the government may have obtained from crashed or damaged UAPs. Due to this limited disclosure so far, there are now rumors of collected metamaterials from unidentified craft. A metamaterial is any material engineered to have a property that is not found naturally occurring. They are made from assemblies of multiple elements fashioned from composite materials such as metals and plastics. These materials are usually arranged in repeating patterns at scales that are smaller than the wavelengths of the phenomenon they influence. Metamaterials derive their properties not from the properties of the base materials, but from their newly designed structures. Their precise shape, geometry, size, orientation, and arrangement gives them their smart properties capable of manipulating electromagnetic waves by blocking, absorbing, enhancing, or bending waves to achieve benefits that go beyond what is possible with conventional materials. Potential applications of metamaterials are diverse and include optical fibers, medical devices, remote aerospace applications, sensor detection and infrastructure monitoring, smart solar power management, lasers, radomes, high-frequency battlefield communication, and lenses for high-gain antennas, improving ultrasonic sensors and even shielding structures from earthquakes. Metamaterials are a potential basis for a practical cloaking device. The proof of principle was demonstrated on October 19, 2006. However, no practical cloaks are publicly known to exist. One can only imagine how this new material would affect aviation. From the very design of the craft to its abilities would be affected, perhaps even the ability to duplicate the actions of the UAP. This metamaterial may be what gives the UAP lift, allows it to fly faster than sound with no sonic boom, and even may make it resilient to weapons attack. Metamaterials may be the key to unlocking the mysteries of UAPs and UFOs. Having some of this material to study would be a gold mine. One of the authors of the New York Times report, Ralph Blumenthal, had this to say on MSNBC about the alloys. They have, as we reported in the paper, some material from these objects that is being studied so that scientists can find what accounts for their amazing properties. This technology of these objects, whatever they are. When asked what the materials were, Blumenthal responded, "They don't know. They're studying it, but it's some kind of compound they do not recognize." Any scientist would be able to identify the substances in the materials. It's their combination that makes them unique. It's unlikely they do not know what the material is, but how to combine them into a metamaterial would be astonishing, perhaps something we have never thought of. Study of this material could lead to several breakthroughs. If the government does have this material and it can be recreated, then it will likely begin to show up in military aircraft, industry, and even eventually become publicly available. Philip James Corso was an American Army officer that served in the United States Army from 1942 to 1963 and earned the rank of lieutenant colonel. Corso was on the staff of President Eisenhower's National Security Council for 4 years. In 1961, he became chief of the Pentagon's Foreign Technology Desk in Army Research and Development, working under Lieutenant General Arthur Trudeau. Corso published a book the day after Roswell in 1997 about his alleged involvement in the research of extraterrestrial technology recovered from the 1947 Roswell incident. Corso died of a heart attack less than a year later. He said a covert government group was assembled under the leadership of Admiral Roscoe H. Hillenkotter, the first director of the Central Intelligence Agency. Among its tasks was to collect all information on off-planet technology. The U.S. administration simultaneously discounted the existence of flying saucers in the eyes of the public. According to Corso, the reverse engineering of these artifacts indirectly led to the development of accelerated particle beam devices, fiber optics, lasers, integrated circuit chips, and Kevlar material. In the book, Corso claims the Strategic Defense Initiative, or Star Wars, was meant to achieve the destructive capability of electronic guidance systems in incoming enemy warheads, as well as the disabling of enemy spacecraft, including those of extraterrestrial origin. If we can believe a noted and awarded colonel in the Army, then the military and government has been looking at metamaterials at least since the 1950s, and their influence on modern technology is evident. The materials that Corso refers to apparently came from the Roswell UFO crash of 1947. If so, then where did the current materials the New York Times refers to come from? The same crash? Or some incident more recent? We know that as of 2004, UAPs have been entering the military theater and military training exercises. It was there that the leaked UAP radar FLIR and visual sightings by our pilots occurred. Could one of our pilots have been ordered to shoot down a UAP? Is it possible they did, and either downed the craft, or at least shot off part of it, and that part is the metamaterials in question? To date, we have no idea where these materials came from or how we acquired them, only that they do apparently exist and are being kept in secret for study. The biggest question asked of UFOs and UAPs is if they are extraterrestrial. The technology certainly appears to be. Glowing lights at night generally do not interest ufologists because it could be anything natural, man-made, or even alien. Unless the lights do something unusual, such as dart across the sky and make right-angle turns, you can't get a good visual of their shape or if they appear to be solid. However, saucer and oval-shaped craft seen in the daytime and even photographed lend themselves to much visual observation. The term tic-tac has now entered the ufology vernacular. This is an oblong-shaped craft, similar to a pharmaceutical capsule or a tic-tac breath mint. These style objects have been recorded by military aircraft and observed by trained military pilots. It is not just a U.S. military phenomenon. Craft with similar shapes are reported worldwide, and it's not a recent occurrence. Tic-tac UAPs are in reports from the 40s, 50s, and till today. In the past, ufologists often referred to these craft as cigar-shaped. They appear to resemble a fuselage, but have no wings, tail wings, jets, or propellers. Some blimps or zeppelins have been confused for these craft. However, blimps are slow-moving and cannot turn quickly or zip away. Weather balloons can flatten out in the upper atmosphere and can appear oblong or saucer-shaped, but again, they cannot move quickly. The craft pilots are reporting can and do. They maneuver in such a way to rule out any conventional man-made aircraft or balloon. Another question is whether these small craft are traveling between solar systems themselves or are being launched from some kind of mothership. Is it possible that another larger ship is somewhere in orbit of Earth or in our solar system, and these craft are coming from there? The official in charge of the secretive Pentagon effort to investigate unidentified aerial incursions has co-authored an academic paper that presents an out-of-this-world theory. Recent objects could actually be alien probes from a mothership sent to study Earth. In a draft paper dated March 7, 2023, Sean Kirkpatrick, head of the Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, and Harvard professor Avi Loeb teamed up to write that the objects, which appear to defy all physics, could be probes from an extraterrestrial parent craft. It's unusual for government officials, especially those involved in the nascent efforts to collect intelligence on recent sightings, to discuss the possibility of extraterrestrial life, although top agency officials don't rule it out when asked. After Loeb posted it online, the paper gained notoriety from a post on Military Times and has also circulated among science-based news outlets. More than half of the 5-page study is devoted to discussing the possibility that the unexplained objects DoD is studying could be the probes in the mothership scenario. Including most of the page-long introduction, one section is titled The Extraterrestrial Possibility and another Propulsion Methods. Kirkpatrick's involvement in the academic paper demonstrates that the Pentagon is open to scientific debate of the origins of UFOs, an important signal to send to the academic world. But they add that his decision to attach his name to a theory considered in most academic circles to be highly unsubstantiated also raises questions about AARO's credibility. The paper explains that interstellar objects such as the cigar-shaped Umaguama that scientists spotted flying through the galaxy in 2017 could potentially be a parent craft that releases many small probes during its close passage to Earth. The paper goes on to compare the probes to dandelion seeds that could be separated from the parent craft by the sun's gravitational force. It examines the physics of how the smaller craft could move through the Earth's atmosphere to reach the surface where they could be spotted by humans. The paper notes that the probes could use starlight to charge their batteries and the Earth's water as fuel. It also speculates on the motive for aliens to send exploratory probes to Earth. Though this is all speculation, it does show the government is looking at alternative theories to what, who, and why UAPs are being reported. They're now becoming more open to the idea that they may be alien, and we are not alone in the galaxy. Is this logic, or does the government possess something, a craft, metamaterials, or even alien bodies that makes them need to be more open about the extraterrestrial idea? The government is obviously changing its tune regarding UAPs and UFOs. Once considered ridiculous, now there are congressional hearings, monthly reports, and several Pentagon departments devoted to the subject. Perhaps the death of the term UFO and the emergence of the new term UAP was a way to become more open about the subject, yet march further away from little green men and the silliness the CIA littered the subject with in the past. Ultimately, it turned the subject around, and in the public eyes, the government is now conducting serious studies to determine the UAP mystery. The government and Pentagon may already have the answers, and they changed the name to distance themselves from past mistakes and start fresh, so they can control the distribution of the information. Eventually, there may be some kind of full disclosure of the UAP mysteries. However, that is only likely to happen if or when the governments of the world agree the public can handle it. As of now, they do not seem completely confident you can handle the truth.
Ignition sequence start.